Welcome to On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We seek to restore pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onkarabile Mokoto and I am your host. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online as we are embarking on our conversations with another esteemed guest, and his name is Professor Leski Kele, and he is here. He's joining me through Skype rather to discuss a very critical issue, academic excellence versus talent ability. Prof, thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. Prof, I understand that you recently published a book right now. But before maybe we speak about your book, I want us to tackle this topic, academic excellence versus talent ability. I think we spoke about it the last time I was with you on another session, and I requested that, I want us to talk more about it. We grew up being told that education is key to open all doors, But nowadays, we have seen a lot of people rising to the top using what we call their talent ability. I want us to talk about this two, I don't know to call them, two pillars. And I want to hear your view as a professor. You are a professor. You have studied, you went through the process of education system until you reach a point where you are a professor. Let's talk about that.
Okay. The first point that I will make is that talent is something we're born with. Obviously, there's a lot you can do to develop your talent, whatever field your talent is in. It's not as if once you are born with talent, you are set for life and that you will never need to do anything else. There are people who are extremely talented, but they don't do enough to develop their talent, or maybe they are not disciplined enough to do what is necessary to get the most out of their talent. That's the first thing. The second thing is education is about learning skills and learning or gaining knowledge, which you may then be able to use in future. And it's my view that the two are not mutually exclusive. It's not my view that you can either have talent or education. And I feel very strongly that whatever it is that we are born with, education is still very important, and it will help you to improve and to enhance whatever innate ability you were born with, whichever field it is that you are in.
Okay, Prof. So maybe can you unpack on the statement that you just said now, especially when you said you believe that education can still enhance maybe your God-given talent. How so? Maybe make an example where education can actually enhance your good.
One very obvious example is in the field of music, where there are extremely talented people who make it to the top in the music world. And we're talking not only about in this country, but we're talking beyond this country. We're talking the world over. There are very successful entertainers who have made it to the top of their professions. But because they were not sufficiently educated in terms of managing their careers and in terms of managing finances, they ended up failing spectacularly. Some of them are some of the most well-known artists that one can think of. I think there are even more examples in this country of that. Many people become successful in music, but later on we hear that they were taken advantage of by people who were supposed to be managing their finances. And they end up failing to reach the heights they could have reached. And this is a very clear case to me of someone who would still have made a success of the musical career, but with a bit more education and understanding of how management and finances work, they could have done enough as well to make it possible for them to manage their own careers and in that way enhance what they were doing and become more successful in life.
Noted, Prof. Noted. So the issue of one saying education system has robbed certain individuals to neglect their talents, you don't necessarily agree with it, Prof?
No, it's not something I agree with. When you say that, and people who say that make it sound as if education will take away something from your talent, then there may be something that you possess which education will take away from you. But that's not what education is meant to do, and that's not how education works. Like I said, education is about imparting skills and knowledge. And there's no knowledge that you may get which will make you worse than you were before you got that knowledge.
Okay, Prof. Because, I think I've seen one person on social media, boasting that he did not go to school. He doesn't have a degree, doesn't have masters, he doesn't have honors. But he has hired people who have honors, who have degrees, who have masters, He has hired professors. So the way the person sound is like, you don't really have to go to school, or you don't really have to pursue academic journey. What do you think about that?
Well, that statement, there's nothing wrong with that statement. And it happens a lot. There are many people who don't have degrees themselves who employ graduates. The thing is, becoming an entrepreneur, building a business, you don't actually need to have a specific qualification to start that. There are many people who don't have any formal qualifications who are successful in business. There are some things that people are able to do. People have a good sense in terms of buying and selling things, in terms of adding value, in terms of spotting opportunities that can, or that have the potential to make them money. It's not necessarily that one has to go to school to be able to do that. So it's true that there are many people who are successful in business who do not have academic qualifications. And yes, once they are successful in business, there's nothing to prevent them from employing people who are graduates. So it does happen quite a lot. I made an example earlier about people who are successful in music. Those people do not have to have academic qualifications. And yes, such a person could then hire a qualified accountant to run his finances. There's nothing wrong with that. And I can give you another interesting example. I'm not sure if you know about Steve Jobs.
Yes, I know.
Steve Wozniak.
Yes.
Those are the two founders of the company Apple. But I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact that Steve Jobs did not actually study computers at a tertiary level. He went to university, studied things other than computers, and then left before getting his qualification because the business of building computers was taking off already at that point. And he became the success he was, not because of the academic qualifications he had. So it's quite possible. It's quite possible to spot an opportunity and have the good sense which makes it possible for you to take advantage of that opportunity without necessarily earning a qualification. But to then go from there to saying education is unimportant and that people should not bother with education is a stretch. It's a bit too much of a stretch, and I would strongly disagree with that. I will make the point once more that whatever talent you have, getting an education can only improve that. Obviously, it doesn't mean that anything you study will improve your talent or it will improve your business acumen. The point I'm making is have your talent and then figure out very carefully what it is that you need to study, which skills and which knowledge you need to improve on, which will help you do better in the field of business which you have chosen. And I'm sure if you look carefully enough, you will find something that will enhance your performance in the field that you have chosen to be active in.
And Prof, now while you are still on that, so what about the parents who sometimes block their kids to actually pursue their God-given talents? Because they are themselves academic, they went to school, so they will actually encourage their kids to do the same thing that they did. They will not really want their kids to follow, especially art. They don't see art as a form of industry, as a form of a career. So what about those parents who actually don't give the kids the platform to excel in their God-given talents?
Oh, parenting is a very, very tough business. It's really, really tough, and it involves balancing a lot of, in some cases, competing interests. But I doubt if there are any parents who set out deliberately to frustrate their children and to prevent them from reaching the heights that they are able to. But as a parent, you have the responsibility to manage a young person whose thoughts could perhaps not be fully formed in terms of what they need to do to achieve their best. And one of the things that we as parents tend to do a lot is we take a very cautious approach. And that approach could say, there's a very good chance that you are talented in what you think you are talented in. But there's a possibility as well that without pursuing any education at all, you may end up failing to reach the top in that field. And the possibility exists then that you could spend your entire youth trying to nurture your talent, trying to get to the top of that profession, and then find out later on that you are not able to reach that. And if you then look back and realize that you have not equipped yourself with any skills that you could have obtained through education, then you find yourself stranded and there's nothing you can do at that point. So usually the best advice I think for a young person is pursue your education, learn the basics, and while you are doing that, do what you need to do to pursue your talent and to grow it as well. In the early ages in particular, the two do not exclude each other, and it should be possible to do the basic education while you pursue your talent. In fact, there's a certain level of education which I would say is essential for everyone, whatever profession you want to follow. I would say these days, a matric qualification is essential for everyone. You should be literate, you should be able to read. I mean, there's no excuse. You can't say these days that I'm so talented that I don't need to be able to read. You need to be able to read.
Yes.
And mathematics of some sort, you need to be able to count things. You need to be able to do simple mathematical calculations. And in addition to that, I would say a bit of understanding of how finances work and a bit of understanding of how financial statements work so that you are able to keep track of your income and your expenditure. I would say those are essential, whichever field you want to go into.
And Prof, I agree with you when you say that it happens, often that someone who's a dropout will get an opportunity and the person will excel. And of course, they will hire those people who have degree, masters, and honors. As much as the person is boasting and saying he doesn't have those things, but he has hired those people, it means he needs those people.
Right? Yeah, it's true.
It shows that he needs those people.
I fully agree with you. The other important point that has to be made is assessing your own talent, especially at a very young age, is not always easy as well. Virtually everyone who has tried to make a career in music begins believing that they are the next big sensation, that if given a chance, they will rise. They look not even at local artists, they look overseas and they think, I will be as big as such and such an artist in no time at all. And if you allow them to leave everything else behind and believe only in that, if it just happens that maybe you're not as talented as you thought you were in your mind, then about 10 years later, after 10 frustrating years when you try to make it in your field, you may then realize that you actually do not have what it takes, at which point you are then stranded without any other skills that you may use to earn a living. And it happens a lot. There are many people who end up in that situation, which is why the important point is get a basic education, do what you can to pursue your talent, and then see how things develop. And obviously, it's very important to engage with people who are experts in your field to make sure that the talent which you think you possess is assessed and that people who really understand how to guide talented people in that field give you the assurance and they give you the necessary support to go to the top. There's a very good chance that despite your belief in your talent, it may turn out that people who look at you and who assess you objectively may then say, maybe there are other people who are more talented than you are, and that you may not actually get as high up as you think you are capable of. And one has to respect that as well.
Exactly. Prof, I want us to talk about your book before we finish because we have a few minutes left. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. But before we speak about your book, there is this statement that I want you to hear your view on. And someone said, when a professor dies, the only thing that they leave is the certificate on the wall. But when a businessman dies, he leaves his inheritance to his kids.
Okay. Again, the error in that statement is it puts the two on opposite sides unnecessarily. What about a professor who is a business person? I mean, it's possible to do that. And it's not as if the only thing other than being a professor is being in business. There are things that professors build. There are things that professors invent. I'm a scientist myself, and my work involves working on creating new knowledge. And that knowledge which I've created will live on way after I do. In the nature of my work, I do research, I write reports on my research, and those reports are published in international journals. And people from all over the world will comment on things that I've suggested or things that I've proposed. And some build on them, some get ideas from what I write, and they create their own things. And they will cite me when they report on their own experiments. They will write about the fact that they got the idea from something that I wrote. And in that way, I'm making a contribution towards the creation of knowledge in the area in which I practice, and that will live on beyond me. So I disagree with the fact that when a professor dies, you leave only the certificate. The thing is, the professorship is not the certificate. The professorship is in who you are and what you do with the knowledge you have. And knowledge never dies.
And Prof, I agree with you because I mean at universities we have read books. I mean we have studied about people who have left knowledge. I mean we became who we are from the university we graduated because of reading books of those people who have left the knowledge. You know. So I agree with you. But Prof, let's talk about your book, In Shifting Sense, the one that you just recently published now.
I'm happy to do that. Do you want to ask me a specific question or do you want me to talk broadly?
No. You can just take us through the book.
Okay. I'm a storyteller by nature. Apart from the scientific work and the teaching that I do, I love telling stories. And what distinguishes me from many of my friends is I do have the proclivity to put my stories in writing as well. So if something happens that fascinates me or if I experience something which I thoroughly enjoy, it's likely that I will put that in writing. And what I've done in the past is share those things I write with a few friends and colleagues. And over time, quite a huge volume of material came into being as a result of that. And at some point while I was traveling with my family last year, it struck me that I've always thought I will write a book one day. And then I realized that I already have enough material that I've written over a very long period of my life that I could put that together into a book which will tell a story, not just about my life. Obviously, I'm the subject of the stories that I tell, but the story is more than just about me. It's a story about my country, the country I love and the country I've grown up in. It's a story about how that country has changed in tremendous ways over the time since I was a child and I started school. And it's a story about how I have been shaped and affected by all of those changes which took place and how they've made me into the person I am now. I'm not sure whether you want to now ask me a specific question or I should just continue talking broadly.
Just briefly, what can one learn from the book, Prof? Maybe, some lessons that one can draw from the book.
One of the things you will learn from the book is a bit of history. It's about how different our country is now from what it was when we started school. Some things are obvious, some not so much. One of the things is corporal punishment. We grew up at a time when it was firmly believed that corporal punishment was an essential part of the teaching process. And accompanied to that was a type of teaching which emphasized more than anything else the need for students to continuously repeat things in the form of what is known as rote learning. A lot has changed since then. Corporal punishment has been done away with, and our education system now tries very hard to emphasize teaching students how to think creatively. And that comes through in the book. When you look at how we were taught in the early stages of my education, and you look at what is happening now, you will see those changes. But what I find very interesting as well, in terms of the feedback I've been getting from other people who've read the book, apartheid did a very good job of keeping us apart in terms of our races. I grew up until I became an adult without really knowing fully how my Indian, colored, and white counterparts were navigating their way through life. And it's the same from the other groups as well. And what I've found very interesting from people from other race groups who have read my book is they've come to realize that we may be working for the same company now, we may be driving the same car, we may meet in places that make us think we live the same kind of lifestyle, and therefore we are equivalent in who we are. But our journeys to where we are so different that you could learn a lot by just finding out a bit more about me and how I became the person I am. And the book does a great job of telling my story in my own words. And if you go through that, you will find out that there's a lot more to who we are, which is a result of where we come from and how we grew up. And I hope the book will do quite a lot to enlighten people in that sense.
Yes, Prof. Thank you so much. And, let's not maybe give too much so that people can get hold of the book. If people want to get hold of the book, where can they get you, Prof?
The book is published by a publishing company called Porcupine Press. And their website has all the information that you will need. If you just Google Porcupine Press, you will get that.
Okay.
If you want to get in touch with me, I don't mind sharing my email address as well.
Yes, please.
My email address is my name and surname. It's Leskey, Leskey, CELE @gmail.com. If you send me an email, I would be happy to communicate with you. I'm not sure whether it's wise to give my telephone number as well. Do you think it's a good idea?
No, it's fine. The email is fine, Prof.
Okay.
Yes, the email is fine.
And the book, by the way, is already available in some branches of exclusive books.
Okay.
I can't say with certainty which ones. I do know quite a few in Cape Town are stocking it. I'm not sure why Gauteng seems to be lagging behind a bit. But I'm hoping that the book will become available at exclusive books as well in due course.
Okay. No, Prof, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, I wish we could go more because I really needed to hear a lot more from you. But I think we will arrange, with a proper time, and then we delve much on this topic. But for now, let me just thank you for your time. And, I'm really sorry about those technical issues. Thank you for your patience,
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to your viewers. I found your questions very insightful, very interesting and insightful as well. I do hope that some people will learn something from the conversation we had.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. That was On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. And we are having Professor Leskey, a professor, in one of the universities. And please get hold of him. The email is there. And get the book, Must Read. Let's see you next time. Same place, same time on Share Online.